guys, welcome back to another episode in Project C.A.R. So this time around we're going to start working on the front end of the car, and we'll start stripping down the various parts we can find in here, trying to clear up some space, clear up some parts, make some space for relaying new hoses, wires and all that stuff, before we then start to take things apart completely, as we no longer have a reference of where they should go and how we can best route them. So we'll start off with this area on the left hand side. We'll get the battery out, some of the cooling fluid parts will go out, some hoses and whatnot, and then we'll take it from there. So yeah, let's get to work. Alright, so I can bore you to death here for a few hours letting you watch this, but basically what I'm doing is, first off, the cool reservoir, 2 screws to the bulkhead, 1 underneath, that clears up some space, and next up was the brake reservoir, which is held in by a bracket to the side of the car. Just disconnect the hoses and then you should be good to go. Hey everyone, so we're back. Sorry about that. It turns out that my camera had a little malfunction, so I didn't realize that. I've missed quite a few things out. So in the meantime, what I've done is very straightforward. I've removed the windscreen wash reservoir, which is just a box hanging on the side in a bracket. You lift that up. Underneath is a pump with 2 wires. Take the wires off, photograph it, mark it to label it, and then you can just put that away. Other than that, I've managed to remove the oil filter at this end. Eventually I got the hoses off. I've also undone some of the brake lines. Make sure that yours is empty before you do that, because it's nasty stuff, brake fluid. And then I've removed a few of the wires which are now hanging out here, which are attached to the carburetors. Again, mark it up before you remove anything. I'm going to replace my carburetors with triple wavers, so I'll have to come up with a whole new wiring harness for that anyway. But yeah, if you are keeping the old ones to zenith, then just make sure you mark everything before you take the wires off. Anyway, that's all done now. So we've created a bit more space at this end. I've got space on the other end, and we'll just keep working on this side for now. My next step is I'm going to remove the latches that hold the bonnet in place, or the hood, for my American viewers. And so it's going to be next. So we'll have a look at what we need, how we're going to undo it, and then we'll get to work. Okay then, so the brackets for these are attached to the firewall at the front. So what we need is, we need a couple of well, it looks to be socket 10 probably, although mine is pretty coated in paint. There's a little covering grommet in here, so I'll take out of the way. There we go. So that's covering the hole that allows me to now reach the second bolt. Alright, so he's loose. What we still need to do is undo the wire that goes through. This is a Bowden cable. This should work. Number 8. Alright, so he's loose. All he's done now is been held in place by the Bowden cable. So we're going to undo that by undoing it the other end, and then we'll come back here to finish that off. Right, there you have it. That's one hatch, the other one's on the other side. What I'll do is I'll thread the Bowden cable through, and then that's done. Okay, so while we're on this side, we might as well remove the little rubber hose here that acts as a drain pipe for any water that comes in through the vents into the area in front of the, or behind the firewall really. So we'll get that out of the way. So there you go, there's that. Next up we have the carburetors themselves. So I tried to get them off with the manifolds. In order to do that, you have to obviously disconnect all the fuel lines and coolant hoses that are still attached to it. Make sure you drain the system before you do this, because as you can see here, I've got fluid leaking out everywhere. So then the inlet manifolds are held into the engine block by 6 nuts that are bound onto studs that are welded onto the block, 6 on each. They're a bit difficult to get off, especially on the underside of the carbs, so it's a bit of fiddly work. Try to see if you can find tools that work. I had some small spanners that did the job eventually. Once you've disconnected them all, make sure you take plenty of pictures and label everything throughout, just so you don't lose anything if you're going to put them back. And then also, once you've taken them off, be sure to tape off the inlet ports in the engine block so that you don't get any dirt going in, and that keeps the inside of the engine nice and clean. So once the front one is gone, you can then have better access to the back one, because that's especially a pain because of the firewall. So hopefully you'll be able to get underneath it. But as you can see, it is possible to remove them with the inlet manifolds. If you want to try to get them off without the inlet manifolds and just the carbs themselves, there's 4 bolts that are mounted underneath that you will have to take off. That's a real difficult job to do, but it can be done, as I've done it before as well. But once that's done, everything is very, very fiddly to do. And there you have it, 2 carburetors including inlet manifolds removed. Instantly we've got a whole raft of space that allows me to get to, some wiring, some other bits that need to come off before I then get to install the new carburetors. So I'm going to use that opportunity to remove the wiring from the old gearbox that I can still see. What have we got? We've got the starter motor wiring. I'm going to take some photos of that and then take that out. Yeah, there's a lot more space on this side now. Plus it will help us hopefully in removing the engine at the end, or when we come to it. While we're on this side, I'm going to remove the fuel pump as well. Just because I can get to it quite easily at the moment. And then that's out of the way. I can't nudge it or break it or anything like that. So probably safest to get it out of the way. We'll cover it up. Since this one is brand new, who knows, perhaps someone might buy it off me. If that someone is you, then do get in touch and we'll see if we can work something out. Alright then, so what I've done is I've lifted the car up so that we can get to the underside of the exhaust manifolds. So what we need to do is we need to remove 6 bolts on each one of them. But the only way you can really get access to the bottom 6 is if you lift the car up or if you get underneath yourself. So let me show you on the second camera what I'm talking about. So as you can see up here, you've got the 2 exhaust manifolds. So here's the first one, there's the second one. And you can see I've already removed the 6 nuts that go on these studs that hold it in place. So once they're off, we can now go back to the top side, remove the other 6. We should be able to lift this off and then try on the new exhaust that arrived yesterday. So as you can see, mine is already missing the rest of the exhaust that wasn't attached yet. I still had that to do. But what they are is they're just hanging up. They go alongside here and then go towards the back. And they're hanging up by a few brackets, which are just bolted to the chassis. So it's quite straightforward to removing those. Once you've got those off, you should be able to just very simply remove the exhaust manifolds themselves. Now, I've also received a question on where do I jack my car up? So because I've parked it slightly out of the center, one side of the lift, the arms are too short to reach the support frame, the chassis beams. So what I've done is I've actually used the original jack points that are on the sides. So I'll show you with a small camera, but I'm lifting it here. So each 4 of the jack points has got a support underneath, and it should be strong enough to lift it, because that's where you would normally lift the car if you were to replace a tire or such. So yeah, it looks fine so far. My blocks have a groove in it so that it slots nicely around the metal, so that I don't bend it. But yeah, so far so good. I see a lot of people using the chassis beams, but like I said, because mine is parked out of the center, I can't reach those, so I'll have to do with this. But so far so good. So let's get to work. We'll bring the car down a bit so we can get access to the exhaust manifold from the top, remove that, and then we'll get cracking on with putting the new one in. So now the engine itself is almost separated from the rest. What I'm going to do, however, is instead of taking the engine out upwards, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the engine out completely with its subframe. So the whole thing will drop down and the body will come up using the lift. So in order to do that, I need to remove a few other things. Like I said, we've removed the hoses. All I need to do now is take the radiator out to give it a little bit more clearance to drop down, because the fan is practically touching my radiator, which I don't think is correct, but that's about it for now. So we'll undo that. I've got these two wires to undo as well. That's off. So in theory, the engine is now loose from the rest of the car. There's no further fixed connections, at least on this. I'll double check the other side in a bit. First off, we're going to remove the radiator, and to do that we will have to remove this bracket on the right hand side, which is held down by a couple of self-tapping size 10 bolts, screws. So we'll undo those and then we should be able to lift it out. Easiest would be to either have two people do it or do it from the front of the car. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the front at the moment, so somehow with a bit of luck I might be able to just lift it straight up. So we'll see, we'll give that a try. First off, we're going to remove this bracket on the right. There we go. So that's the bracket that holds it in place. Now there's three left. There's two underneath it and one on the other side. However, we should be able to now lift this up, straight up I say. Unfortunately, I need to get some help on the other side in order to get it out. So I better go find myself a friend and we can take that out.